Hey everyone, and welcome. So, today we are diving into an explainer that's going to completely break down the H5P Documentation Tool, and more importantly, show you exactly how to brilliantly deploy it right within your Moodle environment. If you've ever found yourself wanting to guide your students through a really structured, step-by-step thought process, well, you are absolutely in the right place because this tool is a total game changer for that. To make sure we hit all the right notes, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover what the documentation tool actually is. Then, we'll look at creating your form wizard, defining that step-by-step workflow, and finally, we'll wrap up with some absolutely crucial caveats for Moodle. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1. What exactly is the documentation tool? So the biggest takeaway here is that this tool basically acts like an interactive form wizard. It's specifically designed to hold your students' hands through a highly structured writing process. Instead of just throwing a giant, intimidating blank text box at them, you're actually leading them step by step through a goal-driven activity. You're prompting them for very specific pieces of information at exactly the right time. And that naturally leads us to where this tool really shines. Think about using it to build out structured learning plans, or for organizing those massive long-term student projects. It's also incredible for facilitating self-evaluations. Basically, anytime you need a learner to document their process, set some benchmarks, and then come back to assess those goals, this form wizard format is going to be incredibly powerful.
Oh, and here's a really cool bonus feature. It boasts a fully responsive design. Now, this is actually a pretty big deal for accessibility. It means your students are going to have a fantastic, seamless experience, whether they're, sitting at a huge desktop monitor in the library or just tapping away on a tiny mobile screen while riding the bus. It adapts absolutely flawlessly to whatever they're using.
Okay, let's jump right into Section 2, creating your form wizard. Getting this off the ground is honestly a breeze. If you've spent any time at all in H5P, this is going to feel like second nature. You really just follow 3 simple steps. First, select new content in your H5P hub. Second, choose the documentation tool from the drop-down list. And third, set up your overarching title and heading. Now don't skip that heading, it's actually super important because it acts as a constant anchor at the top of the screen, keeping your students grounded no matter how deep into the wizard they click. Moving right along to Section 3, defining the step-by-step workflow. Once you're inside the editor, you're essentially just building a sequence of pages. Think of it like snapping together Lego blocks. You can mix and match 4 distinct page elements to get the exact activity you want. There's your standard page, which is great for plain text and basic input fields. Then you have a specialized goals page where learners can actually define their objectives. And brilliantly, there's a goals assessment page where they can go back and rate how well they actually achieved those goals. Finally, the export document page is the bow that wraps the whole shebang up, letting students generate a downloadable file of all their hard work. Now, definitely pay close attention to this next part because it's vital for your design process. The explicit order in which you add these pages as an author, like literally the sequence in the editor, directly dictates the step-by-step workflow your learners are going to experience. If you pop in a goals page, followed by 3 standard pages, and wrap with an assessment page, well, that is the exact path your student has to walk down. You are quite literally authoring their journey. Finally, let's dive into Section 4, crucial caveats for Moodle. Okay, so there's this really telling comment from a user named M4M on the H5P forums. They said, "Save is a must. I'm afraid that it will frustrate them immensely if they can't save their work and return to it later." And honestly, they hit the nail right on the head. This highlights the single biggest limitation of the tool right now. What they're talking about is that this tool is strictly single session only. Seriously, there is 0 native save and continue feature built into this thing, so you absolutely must design your assignments so that a student can comfortably sit down and finish it in one go. Because if they accidentally close their browser halfway through, poof, their data is just gone. So keep those wizards focused, tight, and totally manageable for one sitting. And here is the other big catch. There's a bit of a disconnect between this tool and Moodle's native grading interface. If a student gets to the end of your beautiful wizard and just hits submit, that does not magically beam their readable text into your Moodle grading window. Sure, it's tracking completion data in the background, but you, as the instructor, can't just pop open Moodle and read their actual paragraphs. So how do we get around that so you can actually read and grade their work? Well, there is a very specific Moodle workaround you need to teach your students. Step 1, they complete the wizard in a single session, like we talked about. Step 2, on that final export page, they absolutely must click Create Document to export their answers as a file.
And step 3, they have to take that newly exported document and manually upload it into a standard Moodle assignment Dropbox that you've conveniently set up right next to the H5P activity.
So with that structured workflow and those Moodle-specific quirks in mind, I want to leave you with a thought. The H5P Documentation Tool is undeniably fantastic for guiding complex thought processes, but it does require some really intentional instructional design. Knowing that it's a single session tool that needs a manual export step to be graded, how might you adapt your next project plan or maybe a self-evaluation to perfectly fit this unique wizard workflow? Think about how you can leverage its awesome strengths while gracefully navigating those limitations. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll see you in the next explainer.